We'd love to hear your thoughts, questions, and just your response to what Nataly has to share. I see a hand going like this.
Yeah. So I have a friend who does a lot of work with the blind, and she often says like, oh, they're not disabled, they're not disabled. And it was like I never heard another perspective talk about disabilities. And I want to go like right after this talk, go talk to her and go, oh, I just came back from this event. This is what this woman said. What would you say, like, and then basically what I got out of your speech was that it, by like finally recognizing that like coming to terms with your identity as disabled has allowed you to enter into a community and given you that aspect. Is there anything else, like something more I should like tell her that is so important about like labeling yourself as?
Give her my number. I would say that, I think I really respect the way she defines them. I don't have that. I don't think everyone should think like me. And for me, we were talking about that. For me, the idea of disability now is actually because I need to make friends with the word. And it's not like a process that finished and now I'm fine with it. It's a long process of. I hated, when I look at myself, for example, in videos walking, I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible. It's not something that now I love and I think all the time it's beautiful. It's a process that I always have that kind of fight with myself. But I think for me, using the word and kind of claiming it and owning it is about accepting part of who I am. And I hope that one day in a perfect world, in a better world, I won't have to use that. And also at the same time, at home, like I said, I don't feel I've got a disability. I really think it's a social thing. I think it's, when people makes me feel. And at the same time, we all have disabilities. We all have differences. So it's complex. It's not I have one answer to that. And sometimes I feel like this, and sometimes I feel like that. And I think also that's what I try to do in the show. I don't try to say, a lot of people criticize it by saying, so what do you want to say about it? Just don't you have like a clear line about what you think about it? I'm like, I don't. It's really hard for me to understand my own world, and I do that through the show. And I hope people will find that that's, problematic. But I think talking about it, that's the only way we can understand it and start dealing with it. So I don't have like the perfect answer, but give her my number. Just like say something. I would really want to listen to things you have to say or thought that kind of came to your mind while I was talking. So yeah,
I want to hear about the fight you had with your teacher about the point shoes with ballet.
Well, that was so many years ago, but it was quite traumatic. She still remembers it apparently. She told my mum, she met her not so long ago, and she told her that she still remembers that fight. I think for me, I wanted to be a ballerina. That was my dream. And when someone said you're not ready yet, it was like you're not good enough. So that's why it was so painful. And I really thought that that's what I'm going to be. And my cousin, actually, she's quite a famous dancer now, and we all studied together. So she was the one, who continued to dance, and I wasn't. And that was it was a huge thing for me. So when I was injured, that was like my world was finished. Yes.
I have to say, I thought that was so incredible and moving, and thank you so much for being here and sharing your story with us. I was wondering, in the creation of this piece, you start in a way where you take your dress off and then you're there and you're very literally exposed. And was that something that you sort of started with? Or did that sort of come as you were workshopping the piece a little bit more and opening at least our section of that with being so exposed and so raw with like your body and your scars on stage? I'm just a little interested in sort of that process of making that artistic choice.
Well, first of all, when when I work on a show, I actually work on shows like 10 years. You know, it's like, because I bring my life to the stage, so I always have those glasses on of like, how can I make this scene, you know, I see the theater a lot of the time. So going to many doctors, especially male doctors, and then having to take my clothes off over and over again, that moment of exposure is so, you know, hard. Then I knew I wanted to bring that into the piece. So that was kind of one thing. And then, because my disability is an invisible one, at least at the beginning, it's like, I need to show it. I need to show how it looks like. So I knew I have to be very exposed about it. So that's kind of the second decision. And I thought to myself, if the rest of the show, the other body, there's another scene in the show where I take a poem that talks about how this guy assembles different body parts of different women to make the perfect woman, the ideal woman. And in that, and what I do is it's written on the board, and then I'm writing it on the floor, and I make it my own, kind of each and every. Anyway, it's like a long story, some about men and how the men treated me and whatever, and it means that I move a lot on stage. And when I did it in university, I only did that part. This guy came to me after and said to me, you know, the idea of the limp is really good, you know, because it really shows, you know, your kind of how those men treated you and how you. It's like, actually. And I told them again, hi, and he was so embarrassed. I was like, okay, I can't do that to the audience. You know, they need to know about my disability, and that obviously become part of the story. And it's a show about emotional and physical scars, and a show about when the guy said to me, for me, he's in a wheelchair. He said to me, for me, it's a show about a woman, a disabled woman, and her sexuality. He said, I never saw shows about a disabled woman and her sexuality. So, you know, that became something else, but I knew that the first part of the show I need to show it. And in Practice Makes Perfect, I even did it much more. I really used my body as an object of you know, showing I'm disabled, because people don't believe me and they hate when I say it. So it's kind of like saying, yes I am. But it's my fight, you know, and maybe one day I'll be in a different place, but that was kind of where it started from.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You spoke to this a little bit, but I'm interested to hear a little bit more. I feel like here in the U.S. there's a lot of conversations about perceptions of disability, and the legal landscape is changing, and the political landscape is, it feels like it's changing by the day. So I was just wondering your opinion on how disability culture here, you know, compares to disability culture in Israel.
I've only been here for a week, so it's very problematic to answer. But I would say, at least here you've got a phrase, you say disability culture. In Israel, when you say that, there'll be a few people in the university that knows the phrase, but it's not something that people talk about, not on the everyday life. I will tell you, one of my friends had a fight with an argument with another friend, and they were talking about the diversity of the political forces in Israel. And he was talking about the, you know, men and women. He was talking about religious and non-religious and secular. And he was talking about the Palestinians and the Israelis. And then he said something about the disabled people. And she went, what? Political power? They're not a political power. She was like, she wasn't even aware they're a group. So, again, for me, I feel like only this year there was a small revolution in the Israeli society, and disabled people, because of their pension, which is very, very little, decided to go and kind of fight for it. You can say, some people would say that it was a huge victory, and some other would say that it's not enough. But at least people started to notice them, or us. I don't even get a disability pension, so that's a big long story, another one in Israel, how you, when you're allowed to get one and when you're not. But so at least this year there's I feel like there's a small change, and people kind of know that we're a group now, that we have political power, but it's not the same as here. And Guy was telling me how in his school, when he was here 20 years ago, there was, you know, this program about one day you have you're like with the blind, and one day you're this. In Israel, it's like I can do that, you know, with my students, but it's not something that the government puts their money or effort into. So I learned that in a week at least. Any more questions? Yes, please.
So I resonated a lot with your
You
experience.
should speak out because
Yeah.
we're also hearing problems.
I'll come closer, yeah.
Do that well.
I resonated a lot with your experience of needing to like repeat the same story over and over again, and kind of being placed in this explainer or like educator role without maybe having choice around that. And I'm wondering kind of if you've experienced a shift in that, or in terms of like feeling in choice around like how you navigate those kinds of conversations.
Wow, you know, I deal with that. It's a good question because I deal with it a lot in the last few weeks, and I'm tired. A lot of the time I'm just tired of explaining it over and over again. And I've got those, you know, I already have those answers in my head. Okay, come and see my show. When people ask, what happened to Hillel? I was like, come and see my show. It's on the 15th of March. You know, it's that kind of, so I do that actually sometimes. And a lot of the time when I start saying it, I need to invent new ways of telling my story, because otherwise I start saying the same lines from the show, and then I start laughing. And then people, bless them, they ask me in the nicest way, and then I start laughing, and then they are like, why are you laughing? I'm like, oh, no, I didn't mean to. So, you know, it's that kind of, and sometimes I go, yeah, it's just, since I was 12, I had an injury, you know, that's fine. And I think it's the way I say it. Now I know how to control the story. Before that, I was like, oh no, I need to say it or I don't. And now it's like, but I have to say that even today, you know, sometimes I feel like I'm just walking, I'm not thinking about this, and then someone would say it, and then sometimes throw me away. But most of the time, I'm in control of the story, and I choose if I want to say how much I want to tell and how I tell it. And it's all about, and I learn how to kind of control it through the way I say it.
I'll share with you that while Nataly's here, she's doing these type of engagements, talking about the other body and Artability at colleges and high schools. But the you know, sort of, let's say, outside of engagement, the artistic reason she's here is we're developing a brand new show together, a devised piece called The Othering Project, about her experience being othered and othering experience of her family members, alongside a French-born actor who was an immigrant to the US, who's perceived, he looks like an Arab, but he isn't an Arab. His father is Djibouti, his mother is French, sort of. Anyway, the reason I say this is in the show, we had to start dealing with this idea that Nataly, the first time she met this actor in person after 3-4 Skype sessions, he said to her, they asked each other questions about one another that they don't know. And he said, well, what is your disability exactly? And she went to her monologue, and I started laughing because I had seen it. And he was like, what's happening here? And in the show, Nataly just yesterday premiered in the rehearsal room a new monologue about hating her monologue and how to deal with that. Anyway, it was fascinating to be a part of that. Yeah.
No,
Oh, you were just doing this.
I was just gonna-
I love this too. I'm really grateful for Tufts Hillel and the Disability Services Office at Tufts for hosting us here, and for all of you for being a part of this engagement. And if you're interested, it'll be next week where we're premiering The Othering Project for the very first time at Bunker Hill Community College. It's free and open to the public, so if you want to find out more about it, it's at www.israelistage.com. Otherwise, thank you all so much for coming and being here.
Thank you.